On today's episode of Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez, my film review is Graduation, followed by my segment Allow Me to Explain, and it all starts right now. This is Jordan Ramirez, and you are listening to Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez, and now, here is my latest film review. This will be my first international film review. My film choice is Graduation from 2016. Directed by Cristian Mungiu, this film was released originally in Romania, and is part of the ongoing Romania New Wave movement. The film story may seem confusing at the first viewing, but once you see it more than once, the story should become familiar to the viewer. The synopsis would be read as a father who is doing what is best for his daughter's future, then faced the bleak reality of living in a broken country that has nothing for her in the future, whether it is a job or a place to live. That is the ambiguous storyline. I will give my own version of the synopsis of what I saw from beginning to end. The story is about Dr. Romeo Aldea, played by Adrian Titiani, who is a physician living in Transylvania with his wife Magda, played by Leah Bugnar, and his teenage daughter Eliza, played by Maria Dragus. Eliza receives 2 scholarships and is supposed to study overseas in the UK, since that is what Romeo believes is best for her future than staying in Transylvania and studying in Cluj, for which there is nothing for her to accomplish. Then one day, Eliza is attacked by an individual and is injured. After this traumatic incident, Eliza finds it difficult to focus on her exam, and Romeo is trying to do everything he can, even if it means cutting the corners to get his daughter to succeed in the exams so that she can go to England. The film is not your typical easy-to-understand type movies like the ones that mainstream Hollywood movies make. Instead, this film presents a realistic storyline that focuses more on human emotions and themes that makes this film entirely relatable. If anyone asks me who recommended this film to me, like a friend or a family member, my response to this is neither. I was hooked on this film after reading the top 10 favorite movies of 2017 from filmmaker and author John Waters, who was a guest editor for Artforum magazine. I will give John Waters this. He has a strange but also delicate taste of the types of films that he enjoys. Waters describes the film thusly. This quietly harrowing tale of corruption and family dysfunction in Romania has the intensity of Bergman and the humor of Fassbinder, if he had been heterosexual, which I find humorous, and he is right on this one. The film does not use a traditional movie score that you see in mainstream films, but instead relies heavily on diegetic music coming from a source like a radio or car radio, a boombox, music coming from the speakers of a building that draws the audience into the story rather than be distracted by pop music or current music that occurs in the background or in the diegetic storyline. The framing of each shot in the movie is so focused that the audience feels as if they are watching a still photograph with the foreground, midground, and background so clear that the image does not feel blurred or obscure. In every shot of the film, the camera is still in motion and is in a fixed shot position. There are no cutaways or transition shots. It may feel boring to watch a static shot throughout a scene that would last more than 1 or 2 minutes, but it makes us feel connected and relatable to the characters within the shot. Tracking shots are also useful in the film as we follow whomever the character is on the screen, rather than using a different camera shot or a reverse angle for dialogue sequences. The cinematography in the film is a continuation of the neorealist movement that we have seen from the Italian neorealist movement that has now been universally translated in other parts of the globe that have now become familiar and common, but it is useful for thematic content or context. The film story is part of what one would call postmodern cinema, where stories reject traditional classic storylines and instead favor nonlinear storylines or complex characters to experiment more in the medium of film. Romeo has a difficult time of trying to figure out with all his might how to make sure that his daughter succeeds, so that she goes overseas and gets the 2 scholarships to get away from this bleak reality of the post-communist country of Romania. Now, this is not your stereotypical Transylvania that is found in animated films or cartoons, as well as in feature films. This Transylvania in the movie is bleak, pessimistic, features muted gray and white colors in a town that looks completely in ruins, and they feature contemporary technology like phones, television sets, cars, and other needs. The film is more presented as a character study of the ordinary lives of the family members, from the father Romeo, who is flawed despite being the head of the family, and at the same time is seeing another woman, Sandra, behind his wife's back, Magda, who is the mother but is also a woman trapped in the house, and her job as a librarian, who didn't leave along with her husband out of Romania many years ago, and Eliza, who knows that what she wants in life is to study abroad in a foreign school in the UK, but later realizes that she wants to make her own decisions and decides to stay instead of leave. The film is loaded with the theme of decision-making, besides the father doing what is best for her daughter by taking the exam, as well as several other characters in the film, Magda, his mother, Ramirez. They all want to see Eliza make her own decision and become independent, and not let somebody else make the decision for her. It is a common and universal theme that we always see when it comes to family members doing what is best for their loved one, whether it is a spouse, son, daughter, relative, parents, or friends, but realize that the individual has a life of their own and choices that they want to make. Romeo is not a perfect character, but he does speak to the parental figures who want to do what is best for their own child and having a successful future no matter what the outcome may bring. But in the end, compromise and corruption disrupts this process to cut corners and instead brings on a myriad of problems that can never be resolved again, like talking to the school principal to find any options or solutions because of Eliza's broken arm, or going to see Ivanov the policeman to help with Eliza's case of who her attacker is. The film is mostly taken from the director's own life story, the implications of fatherhood, that feel entirely relatable. As I watched the film all the way through, it is basically a story of how far a father can go to make sure that his daughter leads a successful future despite the limited options that he faces. The film made its debut at the Cannes Film Festival on May 19th of 2016 and in Bucharest, Romania the same day. The film made its limited release in the United States on April 7th of 2017. The film was met with positive critical praise, and the film was nominated for the Palme d'Or at Cannes, but it did not win. It did, however, win Best Director for Christian Mungiu, who shared it with another director, Olivier Assayas, for his film Personal Shopper. Christian Mungiu as a director is a true original and an auteur who does not obey the rules. When it comes to telling stories as part of the New Wave movement in Romania that is meant to be a complete rejection on the communist ideology and mindset that began in 2004. He made his directorial debut with the 2002 film Occident that earned him praise, but it was his 2007 feature film 4 Months, 3 Weeks, and 2 Days that earned him international acclaim and recognition. He next directed the 2012 feature film Beyond the Hills. It was inspired by the 2005 exorcism story and Tanko, later documented in 2 non-fiction novels in which a young member of a monastery in Moldavia died. The film earned several accolades and critical praise. The film earned the awards for Best Screenplay and Best Actress for its leading actresses Cosmina Stratton and Christina Flutter. Currently, Christian Mungiu released his most recent film this year called RMN, which premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May of this year and in June in Romania for its premiere. I have no idea of when the film will be released for a limited release in the United States, but I hope that it is soon. Overall, this is an enduring and searing human drama that might take some time to get used to, since the film is slow and somewhat difficult to understand unless you watch the film more than once for the main story to begin. The film relies more on character development and realistic dialogue that is entirely relatable, as well as the difficulties of fatherhood and trying to control your own child's future no matter what is in store for them. Just like in the film, when Romeo realizes that just when things looked as if they were going according to his plan, things started to turn and the aspects of his daughter's future looked bleaker and bleaker by the minute. It may feel depressing and pessimistic, but it feels open-ended, so who knows what the future might bring for his own daughter. We will be right back with Allow Me to Explain. With the recent news of HBO Max dumping its animated programming after the Warner Discovery merger and the uncertain future of animation at Warner Brothers, the question remains, will the animation industry survive or will it be under new management? It's time for Allow Me to Explain. After Discovery made its complete acquisition of Warner Brothers from AT&T back in April 12th of this year, it seemed like there was going to be some new changes as well as some cutbacks regarding programming and content after the dismal debt that Warner Media faced after its merger with AT&T back in 2018. At the time, the new CEO of Warner Discovery, David Zaslav, said in a statement, "Today's announcement marks an exciting milestone not just for Warner Brothers Discovery but for our shareholders, our distributors, our advertisers, our creative partners, and, most importantly, consumers globally. With our collective assets and diversified business model, Warner Brothers Discovery offers the most differentiated and complete portfolio of content across films, television, and streaming. We are confident that we can bring more choice to consumers around the globe while fostering creativity and creating value for shareholders. I can't wait for both teams to come together to make Warner Brothers Discovery the best place for impactful storytelling." The new changes at Warner Brothers Discovery were not that hard to identify, since the first order of business relating to animation at Warner Discovery was the ousting of Tom Achiam, who oversaw the kids' young adult content at Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and Warner Brothers Animation. His position will not be filled in the company. Instead, Discovery's Kathleen Finch will manage Warner's linear networks, meaning that it is just one person overseeing all the major networks that Warner Discovery now owns. The confusion of what had been happening at Warner Discovery were the rumors of the shelving and cancellations of animated films and television shows at the company. The rumors spread throughout social media that many lamented that animation at Warner Discovery was all doom and gloom. But that was largely exaggerated. Instead, according to the information from Cartoon Brew, there were to be no cuts or major cuts to animated productions across the brands. The WBD executives were trying to provide hints for the future of the animation company. Zaslav had stated that with DC and the animation group, together with the entire Warner library, our ambition is to bring Warner back and to produce great high-quality films. We will spend significantly more on the HBO Max product. In other areas, we'll spend less because we're not finding an effective return, he explained. It's entirely possible that the Warner team sees animation as one of the areas that isn't providing an effective return, but it feels premature to assume that animation falls into the category based on available information. But much of the decision-making at Warner Animation came from the unexpected announcements that the nearly finished Scoob! Holiday Haunt, the sequel to the 2020 film Scoob, and the third season of Little Ellen were both being pulled and shelved. Along with the clouds of cancellation, the stress was multiplied when the people at the meeting saw a slide that said, "Course correction measures initiated," in which CFO Gunnar Wiedenfels outlined a restructuring of content portfolio for scripted linear, kids and animation, direct-to-HBO Max films, and international local content. At the meeting, it did not feel as if animation was on the chopping block. But where Warner Animation Group stood on this decision, Zaslav said that feature film companies within Warner, like WAG, are a major part of the organization's plans going forward, but conditionally. When it comes to TV and streaming programs like on Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and Boomerang, there was uncertainty of what the higher-ups might do to these original programs, since Warner Discovery made the decisions to cut scripted programming at TBS and TNT. Wiedenfels outlines the strategies that didn't work for Warner's under previous leadership by calling out significant incremental and loss-making content investments for the Turner networks. Specifically, content spent on shows that did not have a path to generate sufficient ratings or incremental monetization potential, which sounds very vague but does little to answer the question. One way to interpret this comment is to indicate that any show, animated or otherwise, that is successful in the ratings or proves that monetization is the safe route. As to the change in strategy that would be potential for animation fans, Zaslav name-checked Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera as brands that the company will profit from in the future, basically as tax write-offs. Zaslav mentioned that when Warner Brothers and Discovery merged, he said, "Our objective was not only to be one of the top global streaming companies, but also a media company able to drive financial returns by distributing our content on every platform, and our convictions has not changed." Fast forward to August 15th of this year. Allison Abad was leaving her role as Executive Vice President of Warner Animation Group after being there for 5 years. The position is still vacant as of this episode, but at the moment, I am not even sure if the position has already been filled at this time. That in turn led to the controversial decision from Warner Discovery to dump 30-plus animated shows from their animation catalog without any explanation. Instead, they responded with a comment saying, "As we work toward bringing our content catalogs together under one platform, we will be making changes to the content offering available on both HBO Max and Discovery Plus. That will include the removal of some content from both platforms. At the same time, we're already starting to bring our content catalogs together, like the launch of the new CNN Originals Hub on Discovery Plus and a curated collection of Magnolia Network content coming soon to HBO Max." One of the speculating rumors, according to Cartoon Brew, was that Warner Discovery was going to auction off these shows to other streaming platforms. After this controversial decision, many of the show's creators were infuriated by posting their tweets on Twitter, like Julia Potts, creator of Summer Camp Island, who tweeted, "We worked for 5 years to make 100 episodes of animation. We worked late into the night, we let ourselves go, we were a family of hardworking artists who wanted to make something beautiful, and HBO Max just pulled them like we were nothing. Animation is not nothing, and we worked through the pandemic to make 20 linear episodes that are our most beautiful work yet. I cannot wait for you to see them. You will see them. I will not rest." So what does this mean for the outcome of animation at Warner Brothers? Well, judging from this information thanks to research from Cartoon Brew, it feels as if we need more oversight to make sure that animation is not treated as a tax write-off or as a profit to a major studio like Warner Discovery. I would say that you offer your thanks to the creators of these amazing shows from Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, and Warner Animation. Watch their content, if pirated, and let them know what you think. And also support independent animation where the creators get to share their own creations to their own audience. Put your support on social media or start following their content on their platforms such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to pledge your support for the future of animation, or create videos about the situation at Warner Discovery and the outlook of animation at the moment for additional updates. This has been Allow Me to Explain. You have been listening to Film Talk with Jordan Ramirez. This series is now available to listen to at 4 p.m. on Anchor, Spotify, and Google Podcasts every Friday. It is also on my blog website, filmtalkwithjordanramirez.wordpress.com, with my latest podcast episode on the page labeled Episodes. You can contact me on my social media feeds such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I am also available on Letterboxd. If there is a film that you recommend that I would put for my next film review, make sure to submit it to my social media accounts. Again, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And until then, I'll see you at the movies.